Okay, welcome to HDFS 492, our capstone on evidence-based program proposals. This class is fondly known as Senior Seminar. And I have been teaching this class ever since I started 14 years ago. I bet I've taught this class more than 20 times. However, it did undergo a redesign that was effective recently, and so there are some slight changes to the course and things that I'm still building and getting worked out.
I can't tell you how much I'd love to see you on my online office hours. And again, there's a link on the course homepage, and so you can sign up for a 15-minute slot and show up on Zoom. Here's some really good reasons to come to office hours. Bring your draft before you've turned it in, something that you're taking lead on. Let me look it over and kind of help you with things that are confusing. I promise I can raise the score. Or after you've gotten feedback from me and you can't understand what exactly I am trying to say to you, bring it back and let's talk it through. If you're just struggling in this class in general, don't wait until the end. There's no shame in it. Students struggle all the time. I'm not going to judge you. The sooner you reach out, the sooner I can help you. If you'd like to just discuss your future, I'd love to brainstorm kind of careers and give you some suggestions on how to get there. So again, really hope to see you in office hours. For information on our current graduate teaching assistant, just check out the first page of the syllabus. So this is an asynchronous online class, but unlike other asynchronous online classes in our department, this class requires extensive group work. It's pretty unique and somewhat complicated, and so we are going to have a few required meetings on Zoom that I'll work with your group to find a time that you can make.
Okay, here's a little bit about me. I grew up in Gainesville, Florida. Go Gators, but I betrayed my family and went to Florida State University, where I majored in psychology, and then I followed my boyfriend, who's now my husband, out here to Fort Collins, and I worked for a little while actually as a secretary at hospice, and then started a master's degree in marriage and family therapy here at CSU in the HDFS department, and then I worked for 3 years at the CSU Veterinary Teaching Hospital as a grief counselor, facilitating kind of difficult communications between veterinarians and clients and helping people make euthanasia decisions or surgery decisions or supporting them after the death of a companion animal. Then I left Fort Collins for 4 years. We moved to Indiana. I was pregnant with my first kid when I arrived and pregnant with my second kid when I graduated. Again, a department just like this one, HDFS, Human Development and Family Studies, and I specialized again in marriage and family therapy. I moved back here to Fort Collins in 2005, and in 2007 began teaching full-time at CSU in the HDFS department and have been doing it ever since. I teach typically about 4 classes a semester, so I end up teaching a lot of different classes and students. So you can see a picture of my family of origin, and a fun fact about us is that we are all for Dr. Harvey. My brother is the most recent one to have gotten his doctorate of ministry. And then you can see my current family, and my son just graduated from high school and is beginning college at ZU Boulder. So I have lots of empathy for what it's like to be a college student right now. So you may be noticing some of the capstone images that I've got in our Canvas class and be wondering why we keep talking about this being a capstone class. And basically what you can see is that a capstone, is basically the peak or the pinnacle or the top, of an experience. And it's designed to also be a bridge, a supportive structure, basically in between your experience here at CSU, both generally in HDFS, and then launching you into your kind of professional plans after CSU.
So as I mentioned, this is a unique class. It's unlike most classes that you take in HDFS. First, it's unique because you are working in groups for the entire semester for a really large group project. Secondly, you're going to pretend you work at a local agency or school, and that doesn't need to be local to CSU. That could be local to where you are, if you're in a remote location or a different location. You're going to, again, pretend you're employees at a local agency or school and that you're trying to solve a problem or an issue that your population is facing using an evidence-based program. And then you're going to write a grant proposal asking for money from a funder and deliver, if you're on the online version, 1 professional presentation. If you're in the face-to-face class, 2 professional presentations regarding your proposal. So as I mentioned, HDFS 492 is a unique course because everything that we do is organized around preparing for and writing and presenting this grant proposal. So you can see there's actually about 16 unique sections of the grant proposal here that your group is going to be writing. In order to get you into groups and to select a common topic, what we'll be doing in these first couple of weeks is some online discussion around potential topics so that you can pick a rank order of 3 of these, and I can help assign you to groups. This is a big picture view of the class. So this week we're having an onboarding meeting. During week 1, you'll be doing topic exploration. During week 2, you'll be selecting your topic and forming groups. I'll be helping facilitate that and assigning groups. And then in weeks 3 and 4, you'll be doing some pre-proposal tasks. So investigating agencies, evidence-based programs, and you'll be writing basically a short individual research paper called the research brief. During week 4, you'll be identifying exactly what your group wants to focus in on and meeting with me about it. Then we launch into learning about how to write these 16 different sections of the proposal draft and writing them. You'll have a couple of sections that you write each week as a group. Then we will have a check-in meeting somewhere in there around week 10 to just kind of see what issues are coming up and process the detailed feedback that I've been giving you on your drafts. Then you'll have a few weeks where you're preparing for your funding presentation, you're completing all the final proposal revisions, and during the last week of class, you'll be finding a time, a 1-hour time for me with me as a group to give a 30-minute presentation about your proposal on Zoom and answer questions and have some additional kind of follow-up feedback and discussion. There'll be some final reflections and activities at the very end and course evaluations. So as you can see, the entire course is focused on writing and presenting this grant proposal.
So the good news is that there's no required external textbooks in this class, and another HDFS 492 instructor, Dr. C.K. Rizzo, has created this pretty fabulous course workbook that other HDFS 492 students have been using and appreciating, and this will be my first semester implementing it.
Each week you'll be viewing 1, 2, or 3 short lectures associated with different aspects of our assignments and writing grant proposals. Those will be recorded just like this one as PowerPoint files with audio, and then also turned into YouTube videos. So when I need to email the whole class, I usually use the Canvas email function that forwards to your CSU email. When I need to email you, I usually send it straight to your CSU email. Sometimes our GTAs use Canvas to email you. When you're emailing us, first just check around to see if you can find the answer. And then if you can't, go ahead and put 492 in the section in the subject line, give your full name. You can send it straight to my CSU email, or you can use Canvas, either one. They both come to the same place for me. And just give me 1 to 2 days to respond, not including weekends. But if you haven't heard from me after 48 hours over business days, feel free to email me again. I never am going to intentionally not respond to you. If you have questions about a submission, a grade, if you would please email us rather than leaving a comment in the Dropbox. Comments in the Dropbox are hard for us to keep track of and respond to. Finally, know that assignments are often due at midnight and on Sundays, just to give you more flexibility, but we don't respond to emails in the evenings or on the weekends, so just make sure you plan ahead.
If for some reason you haven't received a Canvas announcement in your email, then go ahead and check your Canvas notifications.
So there are an enormous amount of assignments in this class, probably more than any class I teach, to help keep you on track with this complex assignment. That's a pro and a con. Con is you're doing something all the time. The pro is there's lots of ways to earn points. Nothing's gonna make or break your grade. I can't list all the assignments here. You're going to need to check the syllabus to see them all. But what you can see is that the biggest chunk of your grade is group assignments, also individual assignments, and then a few ways to earn extra credit.
So at CSU, there's no set grading scale, so for better or for worse, every instructor makes up their own, and this is mine. One thing that I just want to point out is I do give pluses and minuses, and I also do give A pluses. If a student has a 100% or higher, I don't round up from a 99 or a 99.5, it has to be 100% or higher, then I will enter an A plus into the grade system, which is actually an extra step because Canvas and the grade system just defaults to only A's. It doesn't affect your GPA, but it does show up on your transcript, which is nice. So the grade concerns policy just indicates that you should stay on top of your grades, and within a week of us posting the grades, you should be letting us know if there's any issues. This is just to prevent students from kind of coming back to kind of old grades at the end of the semester.
Hopefully you're still listening, because this has to be probably the most important slide and definitely the one that generates the most emails for me. So I'm hoping to make it more clear for you. I know it's super hard to keep track of how every instructor has different late policies and extension requirements. In this class, most individual and group assignments can be submitted late with a 5% per day deduction with no end date, except that the final Sunday of the last week of class, not finals week, is the last day to submit all assignments. There are a few exceptions to this. The individual research paper in this class, which is pretty short, and it's called the research brief, that does need to be submitted within 5 days, and that's because in order to be a solid group member, you really have to do it in a timely fashion. Your funding presentation, which happens at the end of the class, that you have to submit that on the same day that you present. And then generally extra credit assignments I don't accept late. In order to have late penalties removed, you need to have official documentation from one of the places listed here. If you're wondering how to get that documentation, see the late policies button on the Canvas course homepage. For example, for many things for student case management, you don't actually have to set up a meeting. You can email your, for example, medical or mental health documentation to them, and then they can just send you a letter. If you have documentation, the late policies button will also talk you through how to use it.
Okay. We all kind of have had positive and negative experiences in groups. My general experience is that most of the time 492 groups work really, really well together because it's such a big project and people tend to prioritize it in ways that they might not other group projects. However, if you're having difficulty, you want to try to communicate quickly, respectfully, and directly, right? So the more you kind of let things pile up, the harder it is going to be to say something, because the angrier or more frustrated or more irritated you're going to be, and the more tension there's going to have built up. You also want to put on your family systems hat, right? And think systemically and pay attention to how some of us can be overfunctioners and some of us can be underfunctioners, and kind of watch and monitor yourself in a group setting. You want to give group members the benefit of the doubt, like, okay, maybe you didn't get a chance to to share what you thought because I was talking so much, or I know you've had a lot going on and some stress, but I'm guessing you're planning on getting to this. That's also kind of related to the one down stance, like it could be me. The more you can be specific, I thought you had agreed to do the first draft of the problem statement by Thursday, so I had blocked out my Friday to review it, and now it's not done, and that's creating challenges, for me, or that's going to make things difficult for me. I'm always happy to brainstorm with you if you are experiencing difficulties. I'm also always happy to help mediate or communicate with group members, either, well, in this case it'll be virtually. And of course, worst case scenario, groups can fire a group member if you have engaged me and the mediation kind of hasn't been successful. I've not had to fire a group member, but occasionally, very rarely, it does happen in 492 groups. What that would mean is the student could either drop the class or they could complete the assignments on their own, all of them. I do want to give you a heads up that I pretty frequently have to file plagiarism reports with the Academic Integrity Office, and these are all the reasons that I end up having to do that. And it's usually because people are either taking things too closely word for word from another source, or they're not using quotation marks, or they're taking information from a source and they're not citing it or giving credit. So the APA PowerPoint and the APA and plagiarism quiz will help kind of clarify this, and hopefully you won't end up in this situation. So there's a detailed resource list on Canvas with links to all this, and these are also described in the syllabus. So I encourage you to check them out and let me know if additional resources are needed. I just want to highlight the CSU Principles of Community. I really like these: inclusion, integrity, respect, service, and social justice. I'll be trying to hold myself to these standards, and you as well. If you think I'm falling short or we are falling short, I hope that you'll reach out and let me know. I'm so glad that mental health issues are becoming less stigmatized and people are more comfortable talking about them. And so I just want to contribute to that and encourage you to reach out and get help. I've done lots of my own personal therapy across the course of my life, and I highly recommend it. And also, just to kind of elaborate on that, there's a number of different mental health and well-being resources through the CSU workshops. So more than just traditional kind of one-on-one therapy, there can also be workshops, groups, crisis intervention, support around substances, and kind of psychoeducational skills building workshops, online tools. So lots of things to check out. If you haven't already completed the Diversity, Inclusion, and Belonging module, I encourage you to check that out and complete it. Great, you made it to the very end of the welcome PowerPoint. Lots of tedious information. Thanks for hanging in there, and just reach out if you have any questions.